Good evening, everyone. It really is a pleasure to see all of you here with us tonight. I know that we're going to have very interesting and active discussions. I just wanted to say a few words, and believe me, it will just be a few because the timekeeper will chase me out of here if I speak too long. But I wanted to say a few words about the whole concept of the Winds of Change programming. Those of you who have been on campus for a couple of years, you know that this is new. We started it last year, and we were inspired to create this program by what was happening in the Middle Eastern Northern African region. You will recall early last year, young people in that region played a very important role in initiating the process of change. And it was a very strong role that they played. And we got the message here that it was clear that the winds of change were blowing, and not just in that region, but throughout the world. Young people everywhere understood that the time had come for them to speak out. The time had come for them to play a critical role in changing this world and the way we live and the way we do not care for our people. So we were inspired here to take note of that, and we understood it was necessary for us to create an environment here where our young people, our students, the reason for this university existing, would have the opportunity to speak their minds, to share with us their wisdom and experience in the regions in which they live. We are truly blessed to have students from all over the world, and this is such a precious resource for learning for all of us. Each one of you brings to this campus wisdom, experience, knowledge, and your brilliance, and it needs to be shared. So we created the Winds of Change program. Last year we had a very successful seminar, and the focus of that was indeed what was happening in the Middle East and Northern African region. And we selected students from that region. I've identified one of our graduates, our brilliant graduates from Saudi Arabia, who took the lead as a moderator, who identified other students and who put together on their own an extraordinary presentation. And you can find that at www.gig.org if you would like to look at the video. Once they had completed their presentation, I then gave them the responsibility of identifying the group who would next present. And they identified a group from China. We felt that China was big enough to be considered an entire region, practically. So the group from MENA, I'm being told that my time is up, so I will quickly close. The group from the Middle East Northern African region met with the students from China, assisted them in getting started, and then the students from China took off on their own. And as a result of that, we have the program tonight. We always have faculty to help as a backup. The students choose the faculty they would like to assist them. And once this group is finished, then they will choose the next group that will present for the next term, and they will train them. And the purpose is not just for a program to be prepared, but to create interaction and close interaction and collaboration and sharing of ideas among students from different regions of the world. That's all a part of our role in preparing you to be global citizens. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peiran Xu. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for joining our panel discussion. It's my pleasure to be the moderator of this discussion. Today, our panel will be discussing the dramatic change of China, which has taken place in China in the past few decades. Some of the changes are positive, however, negative also exist. We will also discuss how us young people can react and should react to these changes, and what can we do. Our first speaker is Professor Amdor. Professor Amdor is an adjunct professor of leadership courses at Fairleigh Dickinson University. He is also the co-founder of Sense of Times. He will be discussing the concept of change. Let's welcome Professor Amdor.
Thank you, Peiran. Thank you to Dr. Murphy and to the Office of Global Learning. It's really indeed an honor to be here and to be selected to speak to you tonight and to share the dais with such a distinguished group. I am not here to talk to you about China. It is not a subject about which I can speak with anything remotely resembling authority or authenticity, so I humbly ask you not to expect that from me. I am here, however, to talk about change, which is the greatest force that we humans know, and a subject about which I not only know something, but a subject about which I am so passionate that I conceived, developed, and now teach a graduate course in Petrocelli called Creativity, Change, and the 20th Century Leader. The syllabus for this course begins: leaders of the 21st century can no longer deal just with change. They must be able to create, discover, and invent new ways of thinking, new ways of dealing with greater changes yet to come, and new ways of building organizations. And now I add, and new ways of building not just organizations, but nations and the world itself, as it must be to survive in and beyond the 21st century, which is the most dynamically changing time in the history of human life. It's a highly unorthodox course that explores creativity in very creative ways, and it is creativity from which change is born. Most courses teach about subjects. Mine explores ideas. Most expect you to learn. I expect you to think. Most courses require compliance, and mine encourages defiance. And that is how change occurs. We denizens of the 21st century must understand change better than we understand anything else. Unfortunately, we've proven that we don't quite understand it as well as we should, given the fact that it's the one force factor we must know not just how to live with, but how to create. I'd like you to look at this slide. When I ask people what object the painter is viewing, they also answer correctly, the egg. Then when I ask what is he painting, almost everyone gives the wrong answer, the bird. No, he's not painting a bird, he is painting the future of the egg. He has a vision for the egg, and his vision is optimistic. The single most determining characteristic of change, successful change, sustainable change, is optimism. You see, if this painter were not optimistic, he would probably be painting a frying pan with a scrambled egg in it. Now, that may sound a little lighthearted, but if more leaders understood that, we would have had far fewer negative, pessimistic leaders in the last few centuries who were able to sell their evil messages to us for brief but quite destructive periods of time that included colonization, holocausts, genocides, slavery, human trafficking, and so on. Pessimists never changed anything in the long run. Only optimists do that, and optimists are the holders of the keys to tomorrow's kingdom, and their responsibility is to do what this painter is doing, articulating the future in optimistic, constructive, and strikingly simple terms. It is what John Kennedy did. It is what Mahatma Gandhi did. It's what Jesus Christ and Nicolaus Copernicus did, and John Locke, and Louis Pasteur, and Jonas Salk, and Eleanor Roosevelt, and Albert Einstein, and Bob Dylan, and Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Martin Luther King, and many others. But they and so many others also understood something special about the nature of change. And that is that when there are great moments of revolutionary, sudden, dramatic, disruptive change, such as as history goes back 200 million years, tools, agriculture, commerce, paper, writing, alphabets, the number zero, the American Revolution, industrialization, the telegraph, which was the first telecommunications device, not your cell phone. But they also recognized that change is almost always evolutionary. It is gradual, it is incremental, it is almost imperceptible, and in most cases, ploddingly slow. But it is change nonetheless, and it starts with a vision. And once change is possible, it is inevitable. Those who understand that and believe that will make it happen. Those who don't will wonder what happened. And those who try to repress change will ultimately be changed. And since we are talking tonight about China and Chinese youth, you must realize something very basic. By sheer numbers of your population, coupled, of course, with your meteoric, unprecedented, rapid surge toward global leadership, there is no country, no people more in a position to accomplish change than China. That is your potential. Your responsibility is to do this in a visionary, optimistic, and constructive way. Your potential is unlimited. And that I say not only to you in China, but to those youth across the world. In fact, it's widely agreed that the first person to live to 150 has already been born. And that may be one or maybe more of you in this room who will live well into the 22nd century. So as owners of the 21st century, you will decide what the world will be like for centuries to come. But before you start attempting to create change, understand where it comes from, how it happens, and how it works. Then you will do it right, and you will do it for the right reasons. And that is your responsibility. Each day the world changes faster than the day before it, and more dramatically than the day before it. And the future comes at us at dizzying speeds. This will present hurdles to those who are unprepared, but great opportunities for those who are. With opportunities come responsibilities. With both comes change. If you are prepared, you will meet the future before it gets here. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the panel.
Thank you, Professor Amador. Our next speaker is Dr. Chen, who is an associate professor in computer science at Fairleigh Dickinson University. Dr. Chen will provide an overview of China from the historical and political perspective. Welcome, Dr. Chen.
Thank you, Perrin. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the event of the Wind of the Change in China. Before you hear the detailed discussion about the changes, I first will give you an overview about China. Let's see. Here. Here I will give you a list of the facts about China. Where is China? That is the first question. China locates in East Asia. And here you have a map showing us the whole world of the map. Not exactly the whole of the world, but in fact, I'm focusing on the two countries, United States and also the China. You can see China is in fact located at the west shore of the Pacific Ocean. And on the east side of the Pacific Ocean is the United States. So we can say that China and the United States are facing each other across this ocean. Second, China is the most populous country in the world. How many people live there? 1.3 billion people. Almost 20% of the people of the whole world live in China. So you can imagine what is that number it is. Third, from the total area of the country, China is the third largest country in the world after Russia and Canada, slightly bigger than United States. From ancient time, China has had huge impacts on the whole world. Here are some inventions. We always call that as the four great inventions. They are paper making, printing, gunpowder, and the compass. And here also I'm giving you two pictures about this two of them. One is the paper making and printing, and another is the compass. Those inventions impacted the world that is so huge that we cannot imagine without those inventions what kind of life we will be. And even now, those technologies are still widely used in current society. China has a very rich history over 5,000 years. The ancient China political system was based on the hierarchical monarchies named as dynasties. We have the first dynasty called the Shah dynasty, which was established more than 4,000 years ago. And the last dynasty is called the Qing dynasty, ended at 1912. The modern China was founded on October 1st, 1949, and named as the People's Republic of China. So those are some facts about the China. And also we are very interested about this called Chinese culture, because Chinese culture is a very interesting culture. It is quite distinct from all the other countries. Chinese culture has been heavily influenced by this philosophy called Confucianism. And on the right side, we have a picture of the Confucius. Confucius is the person who created this philosophy of Confucianism over 2,000 years ago. The core of the Confucianism is the belief that human being is teachable and improvable. And the Confucianism is responsible for the creation of the world's first meritocracy. The meritocracy says this: one person's status should be determined by the education and talent, not by the ancestry, not by the wealth. That is the first system that allow the lower class people to improve their status. And because of that, because of this Confucianism belief the people is educable, is teachable, is improvable, and also because of this world first meritocracy system, the good education has always been highly valued in China since ancient time. People believe education not only ensures the future and the development of the individual, but also ensure the future of the family and the whole country. And I give a picture to show that a teacher giving lectures to his students in ancient China. Right now, China has the world's largest education system. There are more than 20 million students enrolled in China higher education institutions. Before 1978, China has the economic system as Soviet-style, centrally planned economy without any private business or the capitalism. In 1978, China started its called market-based economic reform. And since then, China tends to be the fastest growing economic system over the world. As of 2012, China tends to be the second largest economic system after the United States. And also, China is the world's largest exporter and the second largest of the importer of the goods. Now, China has the most cell phone users. How many? Over 800 million users using cell phone in China. And besides, China also has the world's largest number of the internet and the broadband users. How many again? 420 millions. So that is a very, very big number. And since 2009, China has the largest automobile market, surpassed the United States. There are approximately more than 13 million cars sold in China every year now. So China tends to be more and more important over the world and plays a very important role right now. Also, the China has a lot of changes over the last decades since 1978. In fact, 1978 is considered as a milestone. Before this 1978, China still is, we would say, not as strong as right now. But after 1978, China turns to be more and more important, and you will see a lot of changes over these few decades. Now I will give to the presentation to the others. They will tell you more details about these changes in the China over these last decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen, for providing those interesting facts. The next speaker is Xian Du. She is an MBA marketing student at Fairleigh Dickinson University. She has worked as advertising agency, and she has volunteered for 2008 Beijing Olympics. Xian will talk about social media and its influence on the youth in China. When we think about social media, we tend to think Facebook and Twitter, but things in China is totally different. So welcome, Xian.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shenya Du. Here's my topic. Today, I will share some information about social media. Firstly, let's take a look at this statistic about the worldwide social media. By October 2011, there was more than 1.5 billion social media users around the whole world. And at the same time, proportion of the world's population who use social media was 22%. By the end of 2011, Chinese social media users reached more than 500 million. So this is very big number. Chinese social media users was 1/3 of the total social media users around the whole world. And also, I want to share this information. There are 7 top of the social media companies, including Facebook, QQ, Twitter, Xinlang Weibo, and so on. So today, I will talk about 3 of them: QQ, Renren, Xinlang Weibo. Sorry. Because of the fact is Facebook nowadays was still forbidden in Chinese market. So you can from these maps see most of the Chinese mainland they still use QQ. It's reached more than 500 million users, but this is now the latest number. By the end of 2011, QQ users reached more than 700 million, and it actually was launched in 1998 to today. And it was the second largest online community. So among 700 million users, family users accounted for almost 18%. And company users accounted for 72%, students users accounted for 75%. So for example, there are 100 students, so about 75 people who use the QQ software. And this is the Chinese instant message market in the first quarter 2008. QQ software accounted for the main market share, which was 75%. And right now, I want to introduce some functions of QQ. QQ has a lot of different functions, including the QQ blog, QQ email, music, game, and message. And here is the instant message and video call. So through QQ, you can easily send a message, and also you can send a document, video, and photos. Okay. And also, you can use the make a video call through QQ. QQ News. When you open the software, you can the QQ News will pump up, so you can update your information and the news easily. QQ Zone. This is very familiar with Facebook, so you can chat with friends on Q Zone, and you can share information, photos, videos here, and you can build your own group community here. QQ Music. Because of Chinese government allowing people to download and share the video and music for free. So here, thousands of different music you can share here from different countries, from different singers. QQ Game. Play game with your friends online. And I want to talk about the influence of QQ. Definitely, it's easy to contact with your friends, but most important for the young generation, for me, I think the feeling is different compared with the other social media companies, because QQ already has more than 14 years old history. So this social media company with the young generation to grow up. So in 2012, there is an advertisement to show this feeling. So I really want to share this advertisement with you.
反而有了距离。
按这里。
那个时候，我好想逃开。我终于实现了这个愿望。
你是不是来这里想逃吧？
有一天，他竟然在 QQ 上出现。当与他相隔在地球两端，我才逐渐读懂生活，读懂他。对他的思念，因为距离而不断放大；对他的偏见，因为距离而消失不见。
哎呀，儿子，他们
距离远了，
天气冷了，你自己身体注意
心
啊。
却近了。
爸爸，
爱突然变得清晰，
爸爸亲手做的饺子，明年一定得回来。
唠叨变得动听。
知道。
不论母亲离我有多远，弹指间，我觉得她就在身边。
12年相伴，谈讯。
Yeah, let's continue our presentation. Next one, I will talk about 人人. This is Chinese version of Facebook, and it was launched in 2004. And by February 2011, there were 160 million users. And 人人 focus on the young people, especially the college students. So in China, 人人 involves 32,000 universities and colleges, and 56,000 high schools, 85,000 companies. Overseas, 人人 built the relationship with 1,500 universities in different 29 countries. This is the homepage of 人人. I think it's very similar with Facebook. I'd like to talk about the influence of 人人. According to the Wipe Media brands, for the positive aspects, 75% students want to collaborate online so they can get better brainstorming and get more information. But for the negative influence, on average, when students study and socialize online, it will decrease 20% of their total grades. Also, social media provides news and the connection with outside world. But the bad influence is social media is addicting and wasting time. So from the statistic, we know on average each of the students will spend 4 to 5 hours on Renren per day. The third one, I'd like to talk about microblog. So microblog is Chinese version of Twitter, and just now we talk about Tencent QQ, and Tencent microblog already had 400 million users by 2012. Sina had already 300 million users at the same time. So among those users, they are 42% under 20 years old, and 37% between 20 to 30 years old, and 22% are over 30 years old. It means more than half of them are young generation. So the most popular blogger called Yao Chen, she is very famous Chinese actress. Right now, she already had almost 19 million followers, and the top 100 users had over 485 million followers combined. Each topic can be forwarded and receive comments more than 1 million times. So reason for the bloggings. From the survey, we can see 74% users decide, oh, I'm looking for the emotional self-expression, and the 59% side, they need a record of life and growth. 55 share information and ideas, 54 relax, and so on. Because those kind of different ideas and reasons, so definitely they should be different blog events happened. So I want to share a story with you. This blogger called Guo Meimei, she is 20 years old, and through her blog, she just show off herself through luxury cars and money and luxury bikes. So during only 1 month, a lot of followers comment on her blog, and even a lot of TV shows invite her to interview. So this kind of behavior influenced the young generation, and a lot of young people try to become famous during the short time and imitate this kind of but negative to post the pictures and to show off on blogs. So I think this is very negative influence through the microblog, but also I want to share some good stories. For example, the cancer mom. She was only 26 years old, but through the microblog, she just encouraged the serious illness to fight with the life disaster. And also the second picture, I want to talk about the graduate students who support education in the rural area. The third one is the young people. They just hold their bicycle wedding without parents supporting. Because of the tight limits. So later during the Q&A part, I will talk about my thoughts towards the social media for the young generation. Thank you so much. This is my part.
Thank you, Xianya. That was a very moving commercial. Our next speaker is Liang Ren, who is a junior accounting major. She is an UN Pathway Operation Management intern in the Office of Global Learning. And also, she has served as the president of Chinese Student Friendship Association. Liang will discuss the one-child policy in China. Welcome, Liang.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Liang. It's very nice to talking here. Okay, Dr. Chen has already mentioned that the Chinese population is 1.3 billion, and it's about 1/5 of the Chinese population. 1/5 of the population in the world is Chinese. Okay, this is the current situation. So China's population ranks number 1. The GDP ranks number 3, right after the European Union and the United States. The GDP per capita ranks 118. It is after the Jamaica GDP per capita. This is also the current situation. You can see from the figure that the ratio of China's population in the world is much higher than the ratio of China's land in the world. So this is kind of a burden. The limited resources cannot support the heavy population burden. And this is another picture. You can see it is very crowded and not much room left, even in the water. This is the picture of the people. Okay, we also have a traffic issue. And this picture is taken in a career fair because of the surplus of labor. So it is urgent to have the family planning. So the Chinese government encourage us to marry late and to give birth late. Also, the one-child policy, 只生一个好. Having only one child in your family is good. And my parents are very familiar with those pictures. The one-child policy was introduced in 1978. It officially restricts married urban couples to having only one child. So it is true that only one child per family. Actually, if you accidentally giving birth to twins, brothers, or sisters, then you are lucky. It allows exemptions for several cases, including rural couples, ethnic minorities, and parents without any siblings themselves. So I am one child in my family. So if my future husband is also one child, so we can have 2 children. Thank you. So it is possible to have a second child. In most rural areas, families are allowed to apply to have a second child if the first one is a girl or has a physical disability, mental illness, or mental retardation. Also, there's an age gap between the first child and the second child. It's usually 3 or 4 years. In urban areas, the family has to pay a family planning fine called the social, fostering, and maintenance fee to have a second child. And here are some clarifications. And the children born overseas are not under this restriction. So, of course, I can give birth to several children here in America, but not in China. So, and the one-child policy it's designed to be an only one-generation policy. Also, the enforcement varies from province to province, from city to city. There are different rules for non-Han ethnic groups, and these people can have 2 children in urban areas and 3 or 4 children in rural areas. So as of 2007, only 35.9% of the population was subject to a strict one-child policy. Let's look at the effect of population growth. So in year 2010, the Chinese population is around 1.3 billion. So if the one-child policy was theoretically 100% enforced from the beginning, so the population would be around 1 billion in year 2010. So 100 years later, the population would be lower than 200 million. Of course, that won't happen. So there are also some non-population related benefits. The healthcare services for women has increases. The economic growth is the economy is also growing, and the increase the savings rate. There are some criticisms. The first one is that people argue there might be other better alternatives instead of a one-child policy. And the policy benefits might be exaggerated by some politicians. And it is limited to human rights to determine the number of family members. And this and unequal enforcement from different provinces. Also, the natural the sex ratio at birth between male and female in China is around 117 to 100. So this is way much better than way much higher than the natural rate. So I will talk about this later. So because in rural areas, many Chinese want to have boys instead of girls, so they abandon some baby girls. So on the road, you can see a sign like it is forbidden to discriminate against, mistreat, or abandon baby girls. So we are also facing a 4-to-1 problem. When the child is very little, 4 grandparents and 2 parents take care of only 1 child. However, when the child grows up, he or she has to afford 6 older people. So it is quite difficult. So in regard to this situation, the Chinese government allows people who are the parents who are only 1 child to have more than 2 to have 2 children. And there's also social problems. Some parents may overindulge their child, and the spoiled children can be called the little emperor or the little princess. This is a summary of all the pros and cons. So this is the poster. So what do you think? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Liang. Our next speaker is Zerong Ding. He is a junior major in finance at Philip Dickinson University. Zerong will talk about education and employment situation in China. Welcome, Zerong.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to talk here. Today I will talk about education and job problems happening in China. First is the education before high school. Nearly 90% of the students will be sent to the extra classes on weekends by their parents. And the bags are much heavier than American students. I have a cousin in Addison, and once I took him back home, and when I pick up his bag, I think, wow, this is too light. And when I was in the elementary school, the bags are heavier. So it can be seen that the pressure on the students in elementary school is much higher than the students in America. And also, parents like to compare their children to others and give pressure on them. Here is the education problem about the current. The first is the high-pressure schoolwork. It is very often for the students in China work overtime, especially happen in the junior high school and senior high school. And secondly, the students are lack of the comprehensive abilities. What the teachers and the students pay attention to is just the paperwork and the scores from the test. Thirdly, what the students learn about the classes is short of the connections to jobs. Fourthly, the students, they have intense schedule. The class will begin on 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And almost every day they have the same classes. They have like Chinese, math, English, biology, chemistry, and physics. Sometimes they will have physical classes. And then the fifth is about the college study environment. It is very hard for the senior high school to enter into one college, but it is easy for them to graduate. This is because the teaching mode has changed. In a senior high school, the teachers will push you to do some extra work. But when you enter into the college, the students will feel free to do some works, and then they will feel free. so they don't know what they should do in the college. Now I will talk about the basic 12 years education. In China, the first 9 years is the compulsory education. And according to the survey, the rate of pupil short-sighted is around 23% off. But until senior high school, it's like 78% off. So it can be seen that the pressure on the students is much high. And the second is the exam-oriented education. It means that the teachers, they have already know what they will have in the exam, such as the college entrance exam, and the teachers just teach them what they should have in the test paper in class, nothing else. So the students just copy the things from the blackboard that the teachers write down about it. And I have already talked about the college study environment. And here is the college requirement. The college entrance exams is the most important exams in Chinese students. And then today I will focus on the regions. What does this mean? It means that the students in different regions, they have different requirements to enter into one university. Such as I am a student in Shanghai, but if I want to enter into a university in Beijing like Tsinghua, I will have different requirements than the students who studied in Beijing. So it's kind of not fair to the students in some rural areas. And secondly is about the tuition fees. In China, the tuition fees in private school is much higher than the public school like America. But the level of the university is totally different. The public school will rank higher than the private school. And the scholarship, there's limited scholarship in Chinese university. I have a friend, he told me that he has only 500 RMB per year for the scholarship. And I told him I have $8,000 per year for my scholarship. So he got shocked. And also the personal connections is also very important in China. A classmate of mine, she actually was not permitted to enter into Tongji University, a very famous university in Shanghai. But a friend of his father's, he knows someone in Tongji University. And then in the future, and then later, she got the permission to enter into that college. So it's not fair for any other one to who want to go into this college. And for the students who will graduate from the university, they have 3 ways. The first is they can choose to be the public functionary. And according to the survey, more and more graduates, they will like to choose to be a public functionary because the job is stable and also the pay is very high. And it is not easy for the person to become a public functionary. If you have the relations, it will be easy. And specific exams is also very popular among them. They can get the certificates from the field of the job. And the third is they can enter the postgraduate entrance exam. 2 major problems happen in China is one is the money. The tuition fees in Chinese elementary school is like 10,000 RMB per year. It's very high. And the second is opportunistic. And then I will talk about the job market. Here's the current situation. Every year there are 24 million job seekers, and among them, 15 million of them are graduates and 9 million are unemployed. The rate of graduates employment is around 70% in 2011, which is lower than the rate in 2010. And also it's the current situation. 20 million job opportunities will be provided by the government every year. And also imbalance of job areas opportunity is a very serious problem in China. The gap in agriculture, which is the primary industry, every year is 2 million. And the industry is like 20 million. And for the service industry, it will be 3 million every year. And it is also related to the majors. If you have the hot majors such as strong professions majors, and your major has prospective development in China, you will have more possibilities to get a job when you graduate. And because of the limited time, I have to do the conclusion. The first, I would like to say the education mode and system should be changed by the government. The college entrance exam determines when students arrive. So I think these systems can be changed, and I hope that it can be changed in the future. And then the graduates should have more knowledge on the demands of the job market. The last one is the government should pay more emphasis on the carve-out of the graduates. I think the government can encourage more and more graduates to do the carving out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Zero. Now we welcome questions from you. If you have a question, please go from the back and step to this aisle. We will have the microphone here for you. Please ask questions regarding to our topic. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I'm Professor Manton. I teach cross-cultural perspectives. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you on fine presentation and especially presenting the problems. That's very refreshing. I think you do that more outside of China than inside China, maybe. So I was really happy to hear the problems because that means change, like other professor was talking about. A couple questions about terminology. Pupil short-sighted. Do you mean the children who drop out of school?
No, just short-sighted.
You mean physically short-sighted? Oh, so eye tests and glasses are needed. Is that what you mean? Or you mean short-sighted in their vision for their future?
The view side, short-sighted.
Okay.
Not drop off the classes.
Okay, all right. So the other question is at the end, what do you mean the carving out of graduates?
Like the graduates, they can have their own career in the future by themselves, not finding a job or depend on their parents and the government.
Okay. So jobs used to be assigned.
Yeah.
But now you're on your own
Mm-hmm.
to get the job.
Yeah.
Okay, which is very challenging. All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Yassine Karyani and I'm a graduate of FDU. Congratulations on the great performance tonight. I learned a few things that I did not know before. And I have a question, especially to Shania. You have given us some data about social media. As far as I know, you are forced to use Ren, for instance, because you're not you do not have access to Facebook in China. I'm pretty sure the same search engines, the search engines you have in China are not the same we are using over here.
Yeah.
And it's a governmental policy. Now my question to you is, should we encourage the Chinese government for these sort of policies because they play a role in preserving the Chinese identity? Or should we blame the government for these sort of policies that are preventing the Chinese population from integrating in the world? Thank you very much.
I think the policy, actually, I want to tell you a news for the Facebook founder, Mark. Nowadays, he's in Beijing, and he's talking about in the near future, he will launch the Facebook in China in the near future. I believe so. For the government, I mean, for one thing, is government try to protect their local company, like let's say Renren, Baidu, because they really have the competitors overseas. Let's say Google, Facebook. So I think the policy, one of the biggest reason is for protect their local domestic company, and also I cannot avoid to talk about that because, you know, Facebook and Google, they put a lot of information online, and a lot of information are forbidden in China. So cannot avoid this topic, but yeah, this is my answer to you. Is that okay?
Sure. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Rohan. I wanted to know what's the cause of this population explosion in China, because in India it's because of unplanned, it's like the lack of family planning in poverty areas. But I want to know what's the reason for this in China. It's open to the whole panel.
The reason for the
population explosion, yeah.
Population explosion.
I think actually one-child policy is very important to Chinese population, and the penalties still exists. But the parents who want to have 2 children, they have enough money to adopt the second children, so they will not care about the money. As far as I know, the penalty is like 50,000 RMB. So it's not very much to the person who want to have the second children. So I think the government should increase the penalty, like more higher, and then I think it can control the population problem.
But is there like a spark or a trigger which caused the Chinese population to grow exponentially as it has the last few years?
Well, 50 years ago, China was an agriculture country. So we all know if you have a lot of land, you need more people to work on it. That's why every family, they have like 5 children to work on their land, because only parents, like, you need more people, you need mainly more boys to work farming. That's why people, they give birth to more children, so that when their children grow up, they can help their parents out to support the family. But since China is moving towards industry and service, so the population is too much. That's why they started this one-child policy. Thank you.
That answers it. Thank you.
When the United States was created, 70% of the people who lived here, this is 1776, it took 70% of the people to feed 100% of the people. We were an agrarian society, as Peyron just mentioned that China was. Today, it takes about 2.8% of our people to feed 100% of our people. So we don't need that labor-intensive population. The Industrial Revolution started here, therefore we started curtailing the growth of our population much earlier. But in 50 short years, as Peyron mentioned, that trend has changed. And if you saw the graph, and I forgot which slide it was, but the Chinese population is going to go like this. What year in the future, will China be the second most populous nation in the world? Does anybody know? Pardon? 2043? I think it's sooner than that. I could be wrong. But China has controlled the population, whereas India has not and is showing no signs of doing so. But part of the reason for that, and it must be emphasized, that China has turned very rapidly into an industrial and service-oriented society, the same way we did many, many years ago.
Hi guys. I heard that a lot of Chinese students come to the States to practice their English, which is very beneficial in today's economy. But I've also heard that a lot of students might come over here because it's easier to get into university here than it is in China, as Zirong said. Do you plan on going back to China to work? And do you think that studying abroad will help your chances? Or do you think the companies will look at it as you've had an easier education and it might hurt your chances? Thank you.
Okay, so the aim of study is to find a job, right? So why we come here to study? Because we think that studying abroad is beneficial, like you said. So as far as I know, it is hard for an international student to find a job in America, and so we should work hard in the university. But if we are lucky enough to find a job in America, we prefer to stay here. But if we are not lucky enough, we can go back to help our country. Like we can have our own career, not depending on the government and our parents, or just to keep studying.
In China, in Chinese universities, it is not very easy to change your majors or transfer to another college. Almost it is impossible to transfer to another college. So for here, it is like more free to change your majors. And if you study for something that you don't like and you have to study it for 4 years, that will be a tragedy. So the reason why I came here is that it is more free to study here. I maybe change my major in the future, so I prefer here. And I will graduate next year, so maybe my plan is to stay here and to get some experiences for several years, and then maybe in the future I will go back.
And also, I want to talk about the competition you asked about after your graduation, and you can easily find a job or not, right? So I'm thinking for the international students, they are easier get a job because for Chinese markets, more and more international and global business came out. So for the international students, they have the language advantage. So compare with the students who just only graduate from the local schools, they really do have the more powerful computation and advantage than the local students.
Well, your question is what we get from getting the visa. The American people, they ask us, are you planning to come back? So they would give us visa if we say no. We say yes. Well, as Zerong introduced, the universities in China are very different from in America. We have easier education, and although we said it's very hard to get into the college, but you don't have to do anything. You can graduate without doing anything. So basically, I think I learned more in American universities than in China, because we've been in those exam-oriented schools for the past 12 years. And I do want to know, what does American students study? How are the creative ways for them to learn and to teach? So I think for me, studying in America is a very great experience, and I do plan to go back. My major is communications, and I think regarding to media, American is in advance than China. So I think if I gain some experience and bring this new technology or skills back to China, I'll probably start a new company and provide more job opportunities to the Chinese youth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't supposed to say anything else, but I must tell you I am so excited about the way this panel went. I'm very impressed with the presentations and the exchange of ideas. And the challenge I would like to put forth to each one of you in this room: take this discussion beyond this room. When you see each other in the cafeteria, don't stay in your little groups of all Indian students or all Latino students or all Chinese students. Go over and sit with students you've never met before, students very different from yourselves. This is how we change the world, not by staying in our own little groups. And this is the beginning of the wind of change throughout the world. And we can begin that right here at Fairleigh Dickinson if we have to. So I encourage you, continue this conversation. And when I go into the cafeteria the next time, I want to see you all mixed up and exchanging ideas and discussing in a lively way. You never know when one day you will meet each other across the table in a corporate discussion or at the United Nations negotiating on some treaty or something. You never know what's going to happen, but you prepare yourselves now. Thank you.